You're going to probably see that this is a little different than what you used down there, if you can remember that. I don't know how long ago it was. But basically, like, this is a FLIR. So basically, what does that mean for you? This is what firemen use to actually help save people. Like, I didn't use the design for ghost hunting, whatever.
Yeah.
I like the settings on this way better. It's way more accurate than those other ones that they were using. And I know which one they were using because I looked at them and I'm like, yeah, that thing's junk. It's going to break. I use that thing nightly. So obviously, we're looking for heat signatures and cold spots. So that's literally why we use thermal imaging. I probably don't have to explain that to you, but sorry, normal routine. This one is set up to have a blue dot bouncing around the screen. I'll get out of the frame so you can kind of see where that blue dot's going to move around. Do you see it bouncing around the screen? It's going to give us the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. When you get your video back, it's going to help you, like, where you direct your eye on what to actually watch. So is the anomaly normally in that cold spot? Not always, but it does help to actually have it there. So it's going to record that blue dot will be on there for your entire video. We're going to do a few starts and stops with this because as great as this hardware is, the software sucks. So if we record for too long, we'll lose a bunch of footage, and I don't want to do that. I'm trying to capture as much as we can. This is my first piece that I go to, even with the smaller groups, just because this is super fun to watch, and you learn a lot about heat signatures when you're going through a whole video based on the different types of locations we're going to be going to. So we're going to go with this one on you. And is this mom-daughter? Like, what's the relationship here? Okay,
Yes.
I don't want to call you mom, and you're not mom.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and that's why I always ask. So, just for an example, last week, I could have swore I had a couple in front of me. I'm like, all right, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, what's the relationship here? And he's like, she's my daughter. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Glad you asked.
Yeah, glad I asked. So, spirit boxes are normally our best friend.
Okay.
So, they're a way for us to communicate with the dead. If you watch the television shows, it's normally the white noise. And then, obviously, the Zach Bagans is trying to convince you of whatever he thinks he heard in the middle of it.
Right.
So we're going to be doing that in real time, but this is a different method. Because, first off, you're not used to listening to just white noise for 2 hours at a time, plus all the history I'm going to give you, you're going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So there's another method where you can slow this guy down and allow the radio chatter to come through and see if what the DJ song lyrics and commercials are saying actually match up to where you are.
Okay.
So normally it's about a 50-50 shot. If we can make it out very clearly, then I can tie it to one of those three things: location, person, or even one of us. That happens all the time too, just depending on who you guys brought with you that you didn't know about. So again, sometimes relate back to my guests all the time.
Yeah.
So you will get this. This actually records the entire session. You're going to have an earbud in. You're going to be the only one to hear it in real time. I'll be writing down what you hear in real time, but I do spot check it tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So I'll give you about 15 to 20 more markers, whether they're relevant or not. The reason I do that is it's helping to train your ear, because mom's not going to know what the hell this thing sounds like.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're listening to it, and you're like, he heard buy a Kia today. Like, because it was a commercial that came on, that's what I want you listening for, is like those weird things that really stand out, or something just odd on the radio, like that we wouldn't normally hear.
Right.
So again, this is already recording. You can mess with the volume all you want to. It will not mess with the recording, so it records at a nice even level.
Sure.
I don't want earbuds back. Your earwax is gross. You get to keep that as a souvenir.
Perfect.
You need to worry about the volume button now, because that's where you're going to be able to hear it. It's a wheel right where my finger is. It's not the button. So just go ahead and pop one of those earbuds in and undo the twist tie on that. And I'm going to give you a secondary device. As you get that set up, I'll show you what I'll be using.
Okay.
So yes, I use a phone app. And I normally have a separate phone set up for that, but I don't want to carry two phones. But this guy is kind of like an Ovilus. So on TV, it's like the one that gives you all the words and it like speaks them back to you. So those normally, because they're designed for ghost hunting, they have 2,048 terms in it. This device, this app, has over 9,000 terms in it. So obviously much more than what the actual. So the cool thing is that it saves all of the terms and words into a list. There's timestamps next to everything, so it kind of helps me direct my eye on where to watch, where to listen, so forth and so on. 80% of what comes up on this thing is going to be bullshit. It's not going to mean anything.
Okay.
So pardon the French, but there's no other way to put it. But again, we're going to clear you guys off and start this one off fresh. You will get the full word list, because sometimes you get something's relative to you and you may not have seen the word in real time. So I give you the whole list, so that way an average is about 75 terms on a 2-hour tour.
Okay.
So again, there's going to be a lot in there, but only like 5 to 10 of those are actually going to mean anything. So again, I'll give you the why it's relevant and the link to be able to verify why that's relevant, and or if it ties into something that I caught when I was spot checking your audio. So this guy will just stay in my pocket all night. Your secondary device is a multitask. So,
Okay.
sorry, you have a little bit more of a heavy duty thing going on there.
That's okay.
So, this is, you guys have seen the blinky light EMF meters, right? So, this has one of those functions in it.
Okay.
That's the top numbers. So anything above 2.5. Now I use one of those blinky lights, but that normally goes to my little tykes on the tour. Because I do get 6-year-olds on this tour. They love it. They come in Ghostbuster outfits. But anyway. But the 2.5, anything above that is where I'm really interested. I want to kind of debunk or prove what's going on. The 2.5 is the second dot on the blinky light one. So we'll kind of keep track of that throughout the night. The bottom is ambient temperature. Mom finds something on her camera, you and I can prove it or debunk it based on the yellow probe at the top. Like we'll try to find where the cold spot is. Second, or sorry, not second, but last, it actually has a REM pod built into it.
Okay.
So I'll show you more about this, but basically in a nutshell, if something gets close to the antenna, it will go off. I'm not touching it. So I'm pointing it down because it's super bright.
Yeah.
And there's more colors. The closer it gets, obviously the different array of color and the different things that we're going to get out of it.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn that off for now because it can be distracting as we're talking. So I'm just going to push that antenna in. But basically pay attention to those numbers as you're listening. I'm asking you to do a lot because her earpiece is not easy to do. So I'm testing this out. I don't normally hand out 2 devices like this. Sorry.
No,
I would normally just throw that in my pocket and pull it out from time to time. But you guys already told me you were kind of into this, you're familiar with the lingo and all of that, so I was like, we'll kind of see how she does with 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's like a
all right, guys, go have fun. Let me know what happens. No, I'm kidding. No problem. So, just to kind of give you a recap of all of the data you're going to get back tomorrow morning, full video, obviously, full recording from your spirit box. I'll be writing down all of the readings that you're going to get from your device, whether it be from the REM pod or from the EMF field. The word list that's in my pocket and the regular audio. So you can see where that 4.5 hours is going to come from.
And you said we only do the antenna if something comes up here, right?
No.
Oh,
So if something comes up there, we're paying attention to the bottom number.
Got it.
So the little guy.
Okay.
And again, that's not usually very, like a lot of the times with the camera, it's not always caught in real time. It's caught in the review.
Okay.
So, because we're not going to stop and rewind the tape and
Right.
lose footage, especially if something's hanging out. But if obviously she sees something, she's going to keep focused on it, so we can go up to it and she can tell us, like she'll be directing us on where to go, so we can see if there's an actual cold spot there. The antenna is for motion. That means something's getting close to you.
Got it.
So that's where the numbers will, or the colors will come into play.
Okay.
And again, we'll talk more about that at the next location. So, is this what you both thought you signed up for?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, totally.
You look like
Excited.
enthralled, by the way. You're like, oh my god.
No, this is
It's
super
a little
cool.
crazy, huh?
Nope.
So, but I have like, as far as one of my full groups of 10, like I have laser lights. I have 4 other types of spirit boxes, and then another copy of that. So there's normally 6 in play. So like there's a lot of spirit boxes because they all do something a little bit differently. But there's digital cameras. I have a full spectrum camera. If I feel the need, I might pull that guy out tonight just to get you some extra footage. We'll kind of see how the night goes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why we started here. So did you guys eat there?
No, we had a
We had a
drink.
drink.
While we were waiting.
And okay. No, I'm trying to think. Like, where did y'all sit?
At the bar.
Like in the middle. Okay. So the place is haunted. Of course, that's why we started here. So this place used to be owned by a football player named Big John Kennedy. I don't know if they told you that or not. And just a kind of, I know you have a cell phone. Most people don't like to be filmed, and they don't like their cars to be filmed. Some of the spaces we're going to go to, there's nothing there. Might be some cars parked. So I'll do like an Andy's Coming, like from Toy Story, where you're basically going to be playing with a cell phone. So when I get the other camera out, like it's a crazy gizmo getup with lights and all kinds of mess. I'm like, Andy's coming, and they all like they know to point it out. So, but yeah, you pointing it straight in the bar, they might not be happy about that. Just pointing. So I'm sorry, I'm a bad dad with that thing. Yeah. But anyway, Big John Kennedy, he owned this place, and he used to sit at the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel were old enough or not to drink. So one night, 2 cadets come in, they're not old enough to drink, so he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty angry, and they come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John gets pretty angry himself, slams down his beer, and goes over and just starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. He's a big football player. So a couple of gunshots go off, but John gets shot in the neck. Like it grazed him in the neck, and the bullet lands behind him in the wall, which is in the front of the building. John gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in ambulance. So the moral of the story is that this is a haunted building where you normally think that somebody died here or something went on. That bullet hole is still here. So in the event that they did not fill it in during their renovation of this Big John's that we now see, John's blood is still in the building. People that sit in the front tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache, which is why I asked you, where did you sit? So again, I don't care that you had a drink. I just wanted to know if you sat in the front of the building or not, or if you ate dinner here. Because a lot of times my guests, after hearing that story, will go, I couldn't finish my steak because I felt nauseous. I'm like, where did you sit? Right in front of that window. Now you know why. So it happens all the time. However, I tell this story and we start here on purpose because this is your heated warning. Like, we're going to be dealing with paranormal activity tonight, and I don't know how it's going to affect you. So if anybody gets headache, nausea, dizziness, I need to know so we can get the hell out of Dodge. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
safety is always number one. So, and we're going to talk more about that because sometimes it's relative to the story.
I get headaches all the time, just fair warning.
Okay.
So, like,
and that's a good baseline to know.
Susceptible, and already have taken my Advil tonight.
Like, I guess the point is if we have EMFs going on that are well above 60 to 80 to 100, and all of a sudden you're getting a headache, we're leaving.
Yeah.
So just point that out.
Okay.
Same building. Have you guys taken other Charleston history tours?
Not yet.
Not yet.
This is our first day here.
Oh, and I'm
Our
the first thing you're
tour.
doing?
Yeah. Oh, jumping
Okay.
right in. Well, because the spots were limited. So.
Yeah, because Thursday was sold out, and I had a cancellation for that one already. So
Okay.
that one will fill up. But tomorrow's sold out. Friday's sold out. Saturday, I think, only has 2 tickets left. And I think Sunday's almost sold out, too. So, like, I'm normally almost sold out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't worry about tickets. So, like, honestly, this is going to be a nice night just because I don't have to scream at 10 people.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, I'm excited. It feels like a VIP experience.
Honestly, it would feel that way if there were 10 people.
Yeah.
Just because everybody gets my attention, but I have to talk louder. So, the reason I ask if you took other history tours is because we had a big earthquake here in 1886. Every tour guide talks about it, and usually when I say that, everybody starts nodding their heads like, yes, we already know. But this building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front of it, and a piece of it broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head, killed them, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. You have to remember that I don't have any proof of this story. I bring it up because it's a great segue so nobody, when I have my larger groups, is thinking about getting sick on the tour with headache, nausea, or dizziness, even though I just brought it up again. So, I say we go ghost hunting. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. We're going to go this way.
Okay.
You were ready to bolt out that way.
I know.
It's funny, like, this is your first day here. The first thing people do is go last.
Yeah. It's a priority thing for me.
Yeah. That got creepy real fast, didn't it? So, this is a space where, when I have my 10 folks here, I stop so I can explain the devices a little bit more. So, we don't stay here long, especially since it's just the 3 of us. It's just another explanation of your devices now that they're in your hands. This is the big red barn where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. They can hear us, so that's another reason why we use earbuds with the spirit boxes now, because they don't like the white noise. They kick the metal wall and scare the bejesus out of everybody.
Right.
So, the only history here is a one-liner, and I did it that way on purpose so I can explain all the devices with that one-liner. So, the one-liner is that this is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston.
Oh, wow.
So, whenever I'm giving you the history of a location, I will always slow down on keywords for the spirit box mentality. So, over there it would have been 47, New York, Giants, John, and anything relatable to a bar. In this location, it's obviously delivery, milk, eggs, anything relatable to a stable. So horses, fences, whatever comes up. So with this location, I would normally ask people to ask things that you already know the answer to. Because everybody wants to ask the same question, is somebody here, right? These are not Ouija boards, right? So you guys are here for paranormal proof, whether you're skeptics or not. And if somebody says no, that means somebody's here.
Right.
So we don't ask yes and no questions on a normal investigation. You ask questions first to kind of see if you can get the right answers and what you're actually listening for, especially with this method. If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, you're listening for the color red, but I'll be looking for the color red. She's using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages. The word red might not be available, but fire truck, blood, heart, those 3 things are specifically red. I would normally take that as an acceptable answer because it's what they could grab out of the DJs and song lyrics that are scanning through. Most of the night I'm going to require that there's 2 kind of readings going on, or even something else I can verify in the morning. For example, if my word list has the word art on it and you hear the number 40, neither one of those terms mean anything individually, but when you put them together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You see where we're going to be putting clues together throughout the whole night. So again, it's never about like a one word, oh my God, they said yes. Yeah, no, that's garbage. We're going to actually look for actual proof here. We need something a little bit more specific. So throughout the night, we're going to be dealing with people that have the same names. Lots of Charleses, Georges, 17 and 1800s. We need to know who the hell we're talking to. So we need those extra little clues to help us out. So hopefully you have a better gist on, like, have you heard, I can hear it running. Are you getting things out of it?
Not a whole lot. When you were talking about when I say the words like giants, things like that, it was a moment on here, but that was
interesting. So even if you hear something silly, like drop it like it's hot, I want to know you heard drop it like it's hot.
Okay.
Because sometimes one of those terms might actually mean something. The word drop might mean somebody dropped their baby or whatever the story might be. And I will withhold information purposely.
Yeah.
Just so that you have a genuine experience.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your camera. So your camera, you're going to do your best to try to do two things. It's going to be sometimes difficult and near impossible in some areas, but you're going to try to keep somebody in view, preferably one of us in view, because our skin color, we're going to be the warmest thing out here. So we want that array of color. So if I jump out of view, that wall will actually turn red. Kind of see how the wall turned red?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you want the array of colors, so that way it's much easier to spot your cold spots. The wall should now be blue, because I should be the white and yellow. So the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view. The reason being is that blue dot will default to the sky because there's no surface. It doesn't know what to measure, so it's always going to look like the coldest spot is in the sky. So some spaces, again, that will be impossible to do, but just try your best.
Okay.
But again, I mean, whenever we're going to stop that video and we restart it, make sure you're in that exact position before you hit the record button again. I splice them all together, and YouTube doesn't know when it's flipped or not. So sometimes when I get videos like this, so I normally joke around that I have to give out her phone number to out the entire group so they can complain to her and not me, but obviously you already have her phone number. So as far as your REM pod, go ahead and turn down your spirit box just for a moment. Let's talk about that thing. So have you seen any numbers move on this guy yet?
Just a few, but nothing more than like 0.1.
Okay, so up to like 1.1 is natural from the Earth.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I go straight to 2.5. Let's talk about this REM pod. Go ahead and pull up your antenna.
Okay. Will you show me it one more time? How do you do that?
It's the antenna.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, pull that all the way out. Perfect. Now flip the device around to the back.
Okay.
And there's going to be a little finger hole right here. You're going to lift it up that way. Perfect. It doesn't stay. I need to just remove it because it's annoying. So there's two little white buttons back there. For those, it's the one on the right-hand side closer to the edge that you want. So click it into the device.
Okay.
Perfect. Now flip the device around slowly. Your movements are going to make that thing go off. Every time you step, it's going to go off. There's a way to reset it. See how it's kind of flipping around a little bit? That's just because it just got turned on. It's getting used to what the movement is around it. There's 4 buttons on the right-hand side over here. Most people will hold it in their right hand. I know you got 2 devices and you're trying to manhandle everything.
I can switch around.
It'd probably be easier. So where your thumb is, feel for those 4 buttons. You need the one on the bottom.
Okay.
Every time it goes off, click that button. If it goes back to the same color, it's obviously not coming from your motion. Click it again. You just reset it. Every time you click that, reset it. I might even say, let's go ahead and reset it. And you should literally hundreds of times you want to reset it just to make sure it's not a false positive from your motion. Like, oh my God, it went to blue.
Yeah.
You know, kind of mentality. Now you've only seen green so far, but go ahead and kind of see where there's different colors in there. I'm showing it to you. See how there's like purple, blue, and red and all of that in there? A lot of times I'll use this thing as kind of a call and answer. If somebody's here, make the box go to blue. And if obviously you get a direct answer, reset and say, can you please do that again? I want to verify you're here.
Okay.
You know, and if you obviously get another blue, then I do that all the time.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and turn that thing off for right now. I just wanted to show you how to use it. So it's the white button in the back first. And I need to remove that flap, especially if I'm going to be having somebody double fist with this thing. Now you can push it. All right, so I say we go deep dive into much further history than ponies and football players.
So.
Oh, you turned it back later.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're trying to. Again, this is an experiment for me at this point.
If I give this a good volume, is it okay if I put it in my pocket?
Yeah.
Okay. That way I can kind of focus a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go see what other history we can dive into.
Sure.
This is too recent. So, This is just like more of a show and tell, like the device is in your hand. Yeah, especially when I have the lasers in, because that's a whole other thing. I gotta make sure it goes to an adult, because lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble. Set off fire alarms if they go the wrong way. I'll end up parking it.
Just
Right here.
Oh,
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Alright, so I told you I'm taking you to weird spaces that the other tours won't go to. Half the reason why I go to these spaces, they have nothing to show. So they're not going to be interrupting us. Not to mention when I have 10 people, we get to spread out. And this place is actually very significant to the city of Charleston, and not a lot of people talk about it. It's one of my biggest hotspots. It's not just a parking lot, which, by the way, if you don't know where to park by the time I'm done with you, I don't know where to help you. So, did you guys drive here from Kentucky, or did you guys rent a car?
No, we flew.
You flew. I was going to say, how far of a drive is that? About 8 hours, right?
At least.
Okay.
It's it takes me probably about 7 to get on the other side of like Charlotte, North Carolina. So it would probably be a good 10
I
hours.
was going to say, yeah, from Charlotte it's about 3 hours to get
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how far that was. I have to go to Pennsylvania every once in a while because my in-laws are up there. So, I mean, that's a good 10 to 11 hour drive when you got the dogs and, you know, all that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that could be a while. If I'm by myself, I mean, I'm there at 9. Problem. But anyway, so this space, I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, by the way. You're going to get the answers from the spirit box. You will not know the answers. So, what is this space? This space used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up basically exactly where we're standing, going all the way across. And then the servant and slave quarters for the home were in the back of the space. So, we're going to stick together tonight. With 10 people, I normally spread everybody out, but we're going to stick together all night long. I'm not going to say, okay, go have fun, you know, and then you guys just wander. So, but who the heck were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses, in case you lost count. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than you guys, I promise. So we're going to move on. So if I don't bring it up, it normally comes up somewhere else. So it's just weird. You would think I would omit it on purpose, but I'm not trying to make the Pinckneys angry with me. When Eliza and Charles got married, when Eliza was pretty young, and I'm going to say young according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if we're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be like 12 or 14. Just think of today's standards when the numbers start popping up. The reason I bring this up is because Charles, her husband, was over double her age. So there was a pretty big age gap between the two of them for colonial times. It would be a big age gap now, but even back then it was probably frowned upon. But she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he was trying to get all of his children home one last time so he could see them before he died. She didn't think he was dying, and she was in love and getting married. So this is 1744. She wasn't marrying Charles for a green card or citizenship because we're not even a country. You know, she is marrying him straight out of love. But she was right. Dad got better. Dad starts sending her apologetic gifts to this space. Now, you've been in town for a few hours at least that I can think of since you told me. And the word indigo has popped up somewhere around town. You've seen it, you just didn't realize what you were looking at. Indigo is one of the gifts that he sent her, the plant seeds of indigo. Indigo makes a blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. You're both wearing it right now. So she didn't know what to do with it, so she learned from her slaves on how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not super hot down here all the time, although it was a pretty warm day for us. So once she had it figured out, she moves it to a plantation, calls her father back and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. We can actually make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. So that's the business of Eliza. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why everybody comes to see me. I know all the weird stuff. So Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. I know. They're smart or very stupid, depending on how you look at it. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but I'll give you the clue that it's an L name. And that was in the same year. His first wife, Eliza, passed away. 5 months later, he's married to this one. So just kind of giving you the gist of the story. The mansion's not here anymore. We can ask what happened to it, and then if we actually get the answer, then we can ask what year that happened. So again, notice none of these are yes or no questions. The children, I told you there's at least one. There are more. We can ask how many children there were and what their names are, but that's about it. I've noticed if we poke the bear because there's a tragedy among those children that she does not want to talk about, that all activity will stop, including any readings you're getting on your millimeter. So we're not going to poke the bear. You know, I'll be there to supervise anyway.
Yeah, just said protected.
Oh, that's good. See, yeah, that's the stuff I need to write down. As soon as I started talking about the kids, I'm sure. Yeah. So, not surprised at that one. I mean, it's not super, like, oh my god kind of stuff, but it is definitely noteworthy. So, Eliza's death is where she's pretty open. You know, we can ask her how old she was when she died. We can ask her what she died from, where she was buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Like, again, very significant stuff here. So again, I do my research, as I'm sure you guys can already see, and you're looking at me like, what did we sign up for? We were supposed to have fun. This guy's boring us with history. So we are going to kind of wander around. We're going to find where the hotspots are based on your millimeter. And basically we're looking for the 2.5 and higher. And you're going to let me know what those are, and we're going to escalate it because we get a lot of readings in this space, which is weird because there's nothing underneath this ground to make it go off. So we're going to be basically playing off the hotspots, but we're going to escalate it. So if you get a 2.5, great. I don't want to know anything below 2.5, but then if you get a 5, it'll be everything above the 5. So that way I'm not writing down a million numbers. So we're going to escalate it so that way your report can show the escalation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's wander. Let's see what we got going on. Go find us a good hotspot. If you hear anything, please shout it out so I can write it down. Am I going this way? Or you just whatever direction? Okay, I'll follow you. She's like super stoked about this.
Yeah.
So excited.
Oh, let's turn on the REM pod. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
You have to imagine with 10 people, I'm not always there to help that person, so that's why everybody gets one device. Reset. This is probably a good spot to have. Eliza, tell us what happened to your beautiful mansion, please. And if we don't get a lot of activity, like I move this on. Like, again, we hang out if it's here. If it's not, we move on pretty quickly. Are you hearing anything? Are you hearing anything?
It's just, it feels like it's just moving faster.
Okay.
And when
We
you
have her
said-
initial already. So that showed up at 9:29. What time is it now? It's 9:39. So that was roughly about the time we got here.
I think I heard like, and then.
Okay. Really vague. Let's wait for something a little bit more positive. Are you getting any readings on there? Pretty flat. done at 12.2. Let's escalate it past 14. Seeing a 20 to 25 is about average here.
Okay.
But obviously, I'm going to tell you like what some of the readings I have had.
Yeah.
Anything crazy going on with yours? Again, yours isn't always a in the moment type thing, but if we're not recording and you're being super steady with it, which is going to make the video so easy to watch. You wouldn't believe half the back cameramen I see. It's the
5.6.
okay. Walk like slowly towards the other wall. Let me know, let us know if you're getting any readings or if you're hearing anything,
Yeah.
and then we'll stop for that happens. It just doesn't seem like anything's happening up in that corner.
Yeah, for sure. 'Cause it's going so fast. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's understandable. Whereas mom's standing over there just watching.
Right. It sounded like it said you know where we are.
Do I, Eliza? That's the case. I normally get the highest spikes like right in the middle of the lot. So let's kind of give that a gander. If we don't get anything there, we'll wrap this one up and move on. I always give you the answers. I'm not going to leave you hanging, just so you know. But yeah, see if your red device is giving anything. We do get a lot of high readings in the center randomly. Liza, what do you want to tell us? Questions I normally ask. I'm not here 7 nights a week. You think the woman would learn already? Just answer the questions. My name shows up in most of these spaces a lot too. Like I'll get a hello Nick, Nicholas. It just depends on the space. The last space we're going to go to, unfortunately, there's 2 other Nicholas's stories nearby, so I always need a secondary clue so I know if it's referencing me or 2 of the other guys that are there. Just more green. It's sad that I know the tones without looking at them. You don't
It just said, wait a minute. So I was like, okay, well, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I think it's like Spirits Departed.
Why is it? We're going to give you one more minute. Teasing us. Battling? Okay. I like that one. Liza, one more before we close that one off. Alright, let's get y'all some answers. Let's go back over to the wall. You can catch your videos and hit the square. It'll turn to a circle. So this base, when we crossed the last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So, do you have something already?
Does it matter? No, but does it matter if, like, I think I had
Yeah,
it flipped
stop
the
it.
other way.
Mistake. Charleston used to be called Charlestown. It was a walled city. We were fortified. So you're standing on one of the first streets that Charleston ever had. So that's all right. I'd like to bring you down here. Second reason is because the other tours don't normally come down here. They tell some weird boo hag story.
It just said, please just stop.
Well, we are stopping. We're going to tell who the hell lives here. So, these two buildings that we're looking at on either side of us, they weren't here when this was obviously originated. People used to live here. I have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived here. It's not a lengthy list, but the two common names I get are Benjamin and John. Now, do I have anything significant about Benjamin and John other than the fact that they both lived here at the same time in 1801? No, I don't. I get the same two names over and over and over again every 6 to 7 weeks. So here's why I think that's happening. You're standing on these crazy bricks. We obviously call them cobblestones, but they're called Belgian blocks. So they're made of granite. Now you guys seem like you're into the paranormal from based on what you told me. You've heard the term limestone before. Do you have something going on?
What is all of that?
Cars.
Like, not the car. Along this building, there's like just.
That's actually going to be warmer. So it's white, hot, black, cold.
Right.
Have you seen blue go across that yellow?
No, but I'm just seeing.
It's a different material because up until that point, it's all brick. So brick is going to be different than.
Okay.
Be a little bit cooler.
No, it's going to be warmer. It's going to hang on to the sun's heat from the
Okay.
day a little bit longer. I mean,
Okay.
it's a good eye, but I would be more like if you saw a person down there waving at you, like in blue. Like that's what I'm like, hey, kind of looking for. And the evidence, like the best evidence from the tours is actually on the Facebook page. So if you just go to the Stories in the Cemetery Facebook page, go to the evidence folder, there's videos in there, there's pictures that we've caught on the tour, like the best stuff. It'll actually help when you're watching your video. That way you know exactly what you're looking
Okay.
Yeah.
for. But yeah, that's a good eye. I appreciate you looking at it. That's why I'm here. That's why you guys keep me around. So, back to where we're at. Benjamin and John? Yeah. So Benjamin and John show up every 6 to 7 weeks, Belgian blocks. These are made straight from granite. Now, they say limestone stirs up activity because it comes straight from the earth. Well, guess what? So does granite. Especially when it's been staying in the same space for a couple of hundred years. They say it actually hangs on to the consciousness of memories, and it plays it over and over and over again. They call it the stone tape theory. So, that's why I think I get those same names every 6 to 7 weeks. Unfortunately for you, we're in week 1 of the loop. So, am I expecting Benjamin and John to show up? Not necessarily, but weird things have happened. Like last night's tour, I had 3 names from the list show up, and I think one of them gave me an occupation of one of those 3 gentlemen. So, and when I say people lived here, I'm not talking about a lot of people. 2 to 5 people at a time. So when I hear Benjamin and John, that's 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801 every 6 to 7 weeks. Every once in a while, we'll get a third name. The name is Jane. A third person from 1801. I can't find any significance other than this is a perfect example of the stone tape theory. The other interesting thing about this alley is before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here. So that's where it gets its name from, Lodge Alley. So we do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons. Obviously, Freemason, Mason, brick, symbols has shown up. That was actually just last week. That was pretty cool as soon as I started talking about them. But the word Illuminati shows up more than I would expect. First off, who the hell's saying the word Illuminati on the radio?
Right.
Second, why am I only hearing it in this space?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for it. It just pops up, and I laugh my ass off every time I hear it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't go into conspiracy theories. We're ghost hunting.
Right.
So, again, but we've already heard it twice this year, and we're in May, and we heard it 6 times last year. Because I keep track of the weird stuff that keeps occurring. So, but that Illuminati is very odd.
Just got the name Benedict.
I like that, but I don't think he's on the list. I'm going to write it down, because it could mean something else.
Yeah.
They did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks. They found some of the residents' clothing and silverware and that kind of thing. And they were able to classify them as lower class, which makes perfect sense because the other side of the wall would have been on East Bay Street on the opposite side from where we were walking. So the smell of low tide is going to come through here quite often. If you haven't smelled low tide before, it's quite the treat. It's the worst thing in the world. The rich people of Charleston are not going to put up with that. That's why these people were poor. When you get down to the Battery and you see that our houses are skinny in the front and they go long back, there's 2 reasons for that. First off, you were taxed based on how much street side you took. The skinnier your house, the less taxes you pay. The second reason is their front porch is on the side. So you normally think of a front porch on the front of the house. Theirs is on the side with a door. We call it a piazza because Charleston has to be fancy. So that helps keep the smell of low tide from actually coming in. And you open up your second-story windows, and it actually lets the cool air in from the water. And the cool air drops, heat rises. So it's old-school air conditioning. Kind of keeps the circulation of all the air in the house. So that's why I like to bring that up, because we just talked about the Pinckney Mansion, where I showed you the picture was brought against the street. The Pinckneys had money. They were politicians and indigo farmers. They didn't care about the taxes. Plus, they're wealthy. They want to show off the beauty of their home. So again, plus they're outside the city walls. So who knows if they even pay taxes out there. So I just lollygag here on purpose and give you all of that history because, again, this isn't a space where we actually expect any answers. I actually wait to see if something's just going to replay by giving me names, maybe some of the silverware pieces that were found, you know, that kind of thing. And it has happened.
Okay.
But the next space we're going to go to is another alley, but I can't take you all the way through it because I've been kicked out. You guys have the blinky lights and the weirdness. It's residential at the end, so I got caught. We'll talk more about that at the next stop. That's the fun part of the story is how Nick got in trouble. But we're going to cut through a neighborhood to get to it. So I always like to kind of give you the gist of like what's the rest of our evening look like. We're going to go talk about the Duelers Alley because that's where duels used to occur. And then we're going to see what you're hearing on your spirit box because there's a lot of stories in between that and the last story, which is a female pirate. So if you're into pirates, like this is a crazy whopper of a story. I'm a vampire guy. I didn't want to do pirates, but I was almost forced to. You're going to see why once we move things along. As we exit the alley, stop your video because we're going to be cutting through that neighborhood and we don't record in neighborhoods. I'm literally taking you right on the edge of where tour guides are allowed to take you.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you can continue listening. You're probably not going to get a reading because of the parking meter. You can almost ignore the readings, just kind of like what we did on East Bay, until we really get to that last stop. So almost if you want to put that in your back pocket, if it'll fit back there, by all means throw it back there. That way you can focus here.
Okay.
So let's walk through the rest of this and we'll cut off your video at the end.
Okay.
Again, I splice them all together. The software to splice them is actually in the phone, so I start it when I get to the car, and it's done by the time I get home. So all I have to do is upload it to YouTube when I get there
That's
to
nice.
my office. So, and then the other camera that I have, like that thing's crazy. Oh my god, I'll show it to you. Like at the last stop, I'll probably use it there just so you guys can have a little bit of footage for that. But yeah, we just upgraded that camera. We've literally been catching orbs almost every night we've had it out. Like, and I'm not talking like bugs passing through the frame. I'm talking like an orb. Like passing through, like super slow kind of stuff. It's really cool.
I'm not keep it steady. I'm trying to walk on these.
Yeah. That's why I put in there comfy shoes are a must.
Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna cut it?
Yeah, go ahead. Recording for the rest of the evening because we're going to end up at that next corner.
Okay.
So again, we're still going to be in relative space, and I see it all the time. We all tell the story, but mine's a little different just because what we're doing. We're ghost hunting, so I'm almost giving you the clues ahead of time where they're just being theatrical. So that's kind of what they do, right? And you guys have taken ghost tours in the past, you know how that works. So there's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this money. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. To prove that the doctor's not after her money, he moves to Charleston. So as he's coming into town, the coachman that he was riding in on actually set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a good start to his stay here. Somebody was walking by, a local, and seeing what was going on. His name was Ralph Isaacs. And I stopped there because you're ghost hunting. R.I. shows up here all the time. Why? Because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Now, Ralph and the doctor are the two main characters, so we need the secondary clue so I know who the hell it belongs to. But R.I. does show up here all the time. But anyway, he says, dude, you don't want to stay here. There's a gunman inside. This guy's trying to kill you and take all your money. But I have some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there with them and rent the room, and you'll be good to go. So the doctor takes him up on the offer. The doctor and Ralph become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making enough money now to prove that he's not just after Amanda's money, and Amanda's moving down soon with her money. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. So every haunted city you will ever go to has a cliche whistling ghost. Ours is a damn doctor. So here's how the rest of the story goes. Him and Ralph, they go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. He's accepted into high society. One night they go see William III from Shakespeare. They're arguing over the new actress on the way home. The doctor thought she was great, Ralph not so much. It gets even uglier when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée Amanda back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. So, Ralph, being from here, has friends at the newspaper. He goes to his friends, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So somebody's going to die. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend, he just wanted the courage and bravery to show up to the fight and not be labeled as a coward, basically. Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So Dr. Ladd doesn't die either, but he's wounded. He drops to the ground, but his friends pick him up and they carry him home to 59 Church Street. He died.
I heard 59 earlier.
See what I mean? Good stuff. And what's funny is the word church is on my word list. So we have the full address.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I'm pretty stoked. But he dies 10 days later. He refused medical treatment because he's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So the story goes is that as you walk down this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. So again, keep in mind all the locals know the story. So if you go down there with your voice recorders from your phone, keep in mind anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every night. Every night. We end there, my garage is right there, so I have to pass the alley. When my daughter's on the tour with us, she lives in Myrtle Beach, so when she's down here, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle down first. But you guys have heard how quickly I can talk, and I can throw a whistle right in the middle of my speech and just throw her off every damn time, so I win. So, but she's 15, well, almost 16. But yeah, she loves being on these tours. Like, she would be latched to you like no crazy tomorrow, just because of your personality. So positive. Like, she loves to be around people like you when she's on the tour. But anyway, I love that kid to death. But anyway, so here's how I got kicked out. Here's the fun part of the story, right? Because we talked about a dead guy. Let's move on to how Nick got in trouble. This alley didn't always come all the way through. Like, it has a long, long history. But it didn't always come through to this side on Cumberland, which means the bricks on the other side are older. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint and fingerprints swipes in those bricks on the other side. And I used to always show them off as we were going through the alley. But, you know, if you want a picture, I'll send you one. Because it's residential at the end. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to put an EMF meter or a spirit box there. I treat it the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife.
Right.
Like, just not happening. Well, one night, November 26th of 2020, yes, I remember the date, it is relevant, my entire team of 10 people stopped and went into a circle around it and was basically asking a bunch of questions. And I'm like, guys, we gotta move on. We cannot stay here. It's outside a gentleman's dining room window. He just bought the beautiful mansion at the end of the block. He comes out screaming. My daughter thought it was fantastic because Dad's in trouble and he's getting yelled at.
Right.
So November 27th was Thanksgiving. I didn't have a tour that night. So November 28th, this is where all the karma comes into play. November 28th, I get a phone call from the tourism office asking me to go down halfway, which is how far we're allowed to go. That's actually in line with Lodge Alley, where we just left. I told you we're right on the edge.
Yeah.
So that's why we're only allowed to go halfway. Or to reroute the tour. So I decided to reroute. I was still new at this, and I was like, I told my team, we're going to wing it. I'll tell you what I know about this crazy pirate story. I'm not a pirate guy, but we're going to try this. So before we even get moving, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them which pirate we were going to be discussing. I didn't even believe the pirate story. So we were going to be discussing Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. So I'm like, all right, we'll see what actually happens. So I told what I know. Somebody else hears the number 300 come through on a spirit box. I'm like, I have no idea what the hell that means. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. So we had her name and the number 300, and I keep going back every single night. Now, the last location is a hit or miss. We're either going to have a lot or we're not going to have anything at all. That's why I want to pull out that extra camera to get you a little bit of footage from that, because that's where one of the spaces where I've had a really big orb come through. It was like a holy cow moment. But we're going to see what you hear along the way. So, again, let's write down what we got here so far, and then we'll kind of move on. But that's the whole point of why I come here, because I throw the whistle down there to piss off all the other tours. All right, so tell me again what you heard.
I heard 59, and then I heard strolling.
Oh.
Like right afterwards. And so far that's been it. Well, I heard Carolina, and I thought maybe that was the name, and then I remembered where we were.
Yeah, so anything that says Charleston or South
Yeah.
Carolina, I just throw it out the window. I'm going to check the word list real quick. You can actually stop your video. Making sure everything's pristine. There's obviously some pretty prominent locals over here. And I don't know if you're familiar with rubbing or not, but that's illegal in South Carolina. It's basically where you take a piece of paper and like a piece of chalk or a pencil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's an actual term for it. It's illegal.
That's interesting.
It ruins the headstones. So you're
I
basically...
didn't know that.
Yep. It actually rubs away the lettering. And
That's so sad.
A lot of people did it. I mean, I visit a lot of cemeteries, as you can tell, for research. And, obviously I'll throw a spirit box on just to see what the hell. But, again, with everything that I see, you can tell what's been rubbed and what hasn't. You just see it. Are you hearing anything on your
So
end?
what is this little... like that little thing?
I don't know. But it doesn't look like you're capturing anything in between the trees. Can you turn it up a little bit, like maybe lean it back? Because obviously that blue dot is the sky, but you had a black dot on the tree. So weird. And definitely be able to see it better without the timer in the way. So I put those up on YouTube, so that way I can watch them on my computer, or you guys can watch them on your TV, however you want to watch them. A lot of times, if I got something on there, I'll pull London in, like, hey, come take a look at this with me. Help me figure this one out.
So like that little circle, that's almost like the outline. Because there were, earlier tonight, there were quite a few of those up in a tree.
Talking about like the white lines?
Yeah, like that little circle.
The white lines are there to kind of help us see it three-dimensionally, how we would normally watch a video, because this is actually in 2D.
Okay.
So when it puts those white lines on things, sometimes, like if you were to film me right now, sometimes my white lines will be looking like right next to me, because it's looking for the difference in temperature.
Gotcha.
So, but if that's what you're talking,
well, yeah, only because I saw some earlier.
But yeah, I saw a black dot on one of those trees. That's what I'm going to be looking for.
Well, you
Like,
definitely
black
know
is
more
cold.
what you're looking for. Like those up there.
Yeah, that's like the sky in between the tree lines. So those are pretty common. Yeah, I want to see what that black dot is tomorrow morning. Let's go ahead and cut that. We'll go talk about Anne Bonny and see what we can capture over there. Now that you're finally...
Just have to rescue myself.
I like that. That's pretty
And
cool
then I
stuff.
heard the name Morgan.
Like Captain Morgan?
I guess.
That's funny. See why you guys keep me around? The jokes. It's all about the jokes.
Right.
The team that just actually walked through here, that's usually the only tour I'll recommend in town, other than me, of course. He's another private person, but I have a master's degree in writing and can't tell stories like that guy can. Like, he is amazing. Like, he has his own podcast too, so we talk.
That's cool.
Yeah, but his are more like he's giving you the very detailed history, like a 2-hour, very drawn out. He has the spooky voice. It's a little creepy. Like, he's great storytelling. But that's called Pleasing Terrors. And he's actually pretty cheap. Like, my tickets were expensive compared to some of these other people because of the gear. I think he's only like $27 or $28 per person. But yeah, amazing. Like, he's been doing this almost 30 years.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he's a native too, so he knows his history. Like, he's amazing. I guess I'll have to save myself. Is that what it was? Is that the phrase you heard?
Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing that I remembered that. Oh, yeah, I want to definitely get that other camera out so you guys can see it. So let's head over to the wall and I'll pull that camera out and see what I can capture on that. Did I tell y'all what the first Elijah's made in Naples? I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
Because I told you Eliza Lucas, right?
Yeah.
The first wife was Eliza Lamb.
Oh,
I have Lamb on my list.
that's so cool.
Her and Charles are both buried across the street. And what's funny is I've been getting terms that are wrapped around Eliza. It just says Eliza from time to time, but it never tells me which one. Like, for the past 3 weeks, I've been getting terms wrapped around Eliza over here. It's just been weird, and it doesn't really give me the specific. It's very vague. Like, I'll get Charles and then Eliza, and it's like, oh, that's cool. He's talking about his great wife. And now I have Lamb, so is he talking about his first wife?
Right.
Or his second wife? So, but it's just very interesting that we have that. And it did give me the word bush, which is weird because this whole area, I know that this doesn't look like a bush to y'all, but it is for us. I had a psychic on a tour a couple of weeks ago. He kept saying that he saw a Union soldier over here, which wouldn't make any sense to me because this is a Confederate building.
Right.
So again, why would he see somebody in blue here when it should have been somebody in gray here? And it was just weird. And it's funny because most people are drawn to this whole area.
Yeah. Do I pull up the antenna first and then click the button?
Yes. This camera, so you can kind of see what this guy does. It's a that's on there. Your camera likes to act up in this location. Like it goes
Yeah.
wonky in here, especially if we get any kind of EMF. The closer you get to that corner, the higher your EMF's going to go, just because of the electrical pole right there.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm doing this right.
It's literally a point and shoot. We'll review it tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
that's usually
Like,
the whole gist of
there's
this.
just that little bit right there with the bush.
Mm-hmm. How cold are
It's
we
been
getting
pretty
now?
consistent. It's not very
Yeah.
at all.
So I normally look for like 15 to 20 degree drops.
I
So
don't think I've seen any of that. Like,
could have flashed really fast. You may have
Yeah.
missed it. That's what the review is for.
okay.
And I just showed her how this guy works. So basically, there's 10 lights between all of this mess that's giving us light that we can't see. So the hope here is like orbs will show up, something might fly by that we normally wouldn't be able to see that reflects light. So I usually use lasers with this as well, so we can kind of see the motion of it. You can't see the lasers until something goes through it. Like they're invisible until something physical goes through. So it's an interesting concept. You
Yeah.
know, and I have caught quite a bit of like legitimate orbs, not bugs just passing through.
Yeah.
But just like the first night we had it out, maybe the second night, we actually caught this giant orb right here, like going right above me. It was the craziest thing. And it was like it stopped and then moved. So I look at the motion, the size, the speed, you know, to be able to verify things. Can I see its point of origin and its destination in the frame, or did it go out? Because most of the time, if it goes in and out, it's just an insect. It just depends. Like there's a lot of study that goes into each one just to make sure. Like it's so if we have a buggy night in the summertime, it's a nightmare for me because I have to analyze pretty much everything that's
Yeah.
flying through the screen.
I'd gone on a tour at the Waverly Sanitarium, and we were going down what they call it the death chute, and I was the last person in the group, and all of a sudden I just got like this creepy feeling behind me, and I was like, so I turn around and I take a picture, orb, huge orb.
Crazy.
I was like, that is so cool. I had a friend who went with, and at the beginning of it, she's like, this is complete nonsense. And by the end of it, she's like, okay, actually, I think there is something to this.
So let me show you the orb we caught. I had to post it, of course I did, because that's what keeps people coming to the tours. And with me being, you know, a content creator already, I have to make it elaborate. So it'll be on the right-hand side, like coming towards me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like direction, I can see exactly which way it was going. I have smaller ones too, but that's probably the best one I've ever seen, like on my particular equipment.
Yeah.
So there was a lot at the lighthouse, like there was, and it was the older version of this camera. So I was surprised to see as many as I did that I was actually able to verify, and we had EMF readings to go along with it. Like so, it would actually go and touch the EMF meter, and it would go off, kind of thing. Like it was good
That's
stuff.
cool.
Are you getting anything over there? So we're probably gonna have to call this one a dead one, huh? So let's at least give you guys some footage of the front. So we'll go walk towards the front, and then we'll come back over here and get this party wrapped up. I love the fact that our hands are all full. So green,
Blue.
blue. That's a good number. A good color. What's funny is, long ago, apparently they used to do investigations here with obviously some much older equipment of just Anne Bonny, and would just stay here in the front lawn of this place and inside trying to get in touch with her.
Wow.
They don't do that tour anymore, but I heard about that and I'm like, okay, they probably just had an EMF reader and calling out with a voice recorder, you know,
Yeah.
because there wasn't much equipment back in the day.
Right.
And there's even more equipment coming on the market now. Like, I can't wait to get my hands on this new one. It's basically a digital Ouija board. Like, it goes through all of the letters, and then the EMF readings make it stop on certain letters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it is crazy expensive.
Of course. Always is.
And I have to keep upping the ticket price, which I'm at a good price right now, where everybody seems to be like pretty happy with it. The weekends are $50 at this point, so it's like I started this off at like $15 a ticket.
Really?
Yeah, just to see if it would actually work.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked away from a 6-figure income to do this.
Nice.
Like, just walked
That's
away.
awesome.
So,
Doing writing?
I was actually in retail management for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I walked away. Just somebody recruited me, trying to talk me into being just like what these guys you see out here. I'm like, yeah, I use gear. They actually recruited me because they heard my podcast. And he was starting a new company, and I was all about like, oh, this is brand new, getting up off the ground. Well, I learned what I could from him, and then got away because I realized like he's a great historian, but he's taken too much of a cut. So
Oh.
the name was already mine anyway because that was the name of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I just stuck with it.
That's awesome.
And every time we get some crazy new camera or whatever, I just up the ticket $2,
Yeah.
$3, $4, $5 depending on the price of it,
Yeah.
because I have to maintain it
Right.
at that point.
Right.
And there's always upgrades. You know, like that FLIR that's on there. That's the third upgrade I've done on that thing. And those FLIRs are not cheap at all. And you have to find the right phone to be able to take it, because not every phone can use it. So every time we upgrade, it's a couple more bucks.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go above that $50 price point. I just don't.
Yeah.
Just because other tours around here run around 25, because I don't want to deter people.
Right.
But that's why you guys all write great reviews, so I can keep upping the price. Because now you guys just show up because of the reviews.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, every platform is at 5 stars. Every once in a while, I get somebody that just doesn't get it,
Yeah.
and they're unhappy. It's like, I can't make the ghost do anything. Sorry.
Right.
What was that? Was that? I think it was one of the historical tours. There were some brutal reviews, like just young
Oh yeah.
girls doing historical tours that probably aren't well spoken, and
Yeah, the guys were
haven't
like-
worked on their delivery
There-
yet.
There
Yeah.
were a lot of and likes, and she didn't even know the years.
Well, and then I do feel like if you are doing a historical
Yeah.
tour, you should commit the years to memory. Like,
Years, dates.
it's kind of what it's
kind
all
of their
about.
thing, yeah. Well, the great thing for me, I mean, I have epilepsy, so I actually have a hard time remembering things. So unless like these things pop up on like spirit boxes and all that, like all these numbers and digits and all that stuff, like I was able to remember obviously the earthquake, 1886, but then we talked about 1888 with Sue Howard Hardy, 1786 with Philadelphia Alley. I don't think I
Yeah.
mentioned the year, but there's always numbers, and I have to listen for them. So it's kind of like, and then it's like, okay, who was born in what month? I remember birthdays
Yeah.
of some of these people because it shows up all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Is there a lot of... So, yeah, there's a lot of those that I do because it's kind of like, okay, what's the next line? You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't give the same delivery every single time. It's based on my audience.
Oh, if you read from a script the whole time, people would be like, I don't know about all this. Yeah.
They're just all memorized. But if you guys go back and listen to the other tours, it's all the same lines I gave you. It's just I deliver it differently based on who's here.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, some people... They hate a scripted tour. Who doesn't hate a scripted tour?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who's your audience.
Right.
Do I have a bunch of senior citizens with me tonight where I have to really watch my swearing and
Yeah.
make sure I'm prim and proper and make sure I know exactly what's going on with things? Yeah, I do. Do I get little kids on the tour where I really have to liven it up for them? Yeah, I have to make sure they have either that camera or they get the blinky light EMF.
Right.
Because that camera, if they're 7, 8 years old, they're used to playing video games anyway. So give them something they can watch. They're checking things out, and believe it or not, they're the best cameramen because they get the most stuff. Even though it's a bad video, I can freeze frame things and find it if it's there. So, anything else popping up
Just. No,
besides all
just-
those blue readings I
Yeah,
need to write
just the
down?
blue all the time.
All right. So let's go get a quick little shot of the front, and then we'll come back over here.
Do you want me to turn this part off?
Yeah, let's turn the REM pod off.
Am I leaving this on?
Yeah, let's record for just another minute. Again, we'll just go up to the front. That way you guys can see what it actually looks like. All of this stuff you see in the front here didn't actually belong to this place. Like the pillory and all the cannon and all that stuff. Mainly for show. Just kind of give this a minute and see if anything, that way you have some footage to watch, and we'll go collect everything and show you what's going to happen next. Again, the reason why I start in the places that I do is I'm just staying out of the way of the other tours. I'll let them have certain things because they're just going to move on anyway. I send my video people out separately. I'm like, go over there once the tour clears, get us some footage. As you can see how the different material, especially like the Canon, is going to hold some heat.
Yeah.
Shot magazine sign. You got anything over there?
Mm-mm.
Alright, let's go wrap this party up.